Hey everybody, welcome to episode 121 of Tactical Crouch. Kickedtripod here with Yiska and Volamel, here to bring you our Countdown Cup Week 2 recap. Whew, it's a mouthful.
That's the one.
Welcome. We're going to get started here in just a moment, but before we do, partner application is in, so if you want to help us get to partner, come join us live Mondays and Wednesdays at noon Pacific at twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. We really appreciate it, as well as your little subs and little doo-doos in chat. We like it. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, I don't think we really have anything to jump into other than the news and stuff, so let's just jump straight into that. Big thank you to our patron producers: Battlecrab, Pin, Lulshin, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Porkchop, Sammy, Kasha67, Kuchi Kopi, Sharp Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Refine Bean, Rex Zane, Roger B, Fabled Steven, Owen, Chris R34444, Yiska is holding me hostage. I'm under Yiska's desk. Please send help. Yiska says, Fisher's Fritch, fish to frisha fish.
Fisher fish.
Fisher fish, sure.
Fisher sticks.
Thanks so much for supporting the show. If you like the show, want to support, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. We'd really appreciate it. Boom. All right. News. Here's the big news. We played Guess the 3-0s last week.
It's true.
There were 7.
There were. You got it right.
Naturally, I was right. We got maybe like 3 of which matches were 3-0s, right?
It's true.
Yeah. That was the big surprise, is a lot of 3-0s that we didn't expect to see. And a lot of closer matches that we didn't expect to see either, eh?
Well, I mean, Boston, Atlanta, it's like, was that closer? I don't know, Chief. Boston, Dallas. Taking a map. It's a good sign. Good things, but close. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Fair enough, I guess. Yep, so that's kind of the big news. Thanks for coming to this episode of Tactical Crouch, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. I was right. Bye. Yes, so sorry I have to do this. I have to reset this really quick, and this might mess with your audio for a moment. I apologize in advance. Should be okay. Let's see if
we're okay. Maybe.
I think we're okay. Let's make sure. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. There we go. We're okay. We're okay. We fixed it. Anyways, that was it. Atlanta Reign making a roster change this week, or addition, adding Saucy. Is this a Saucy signing?
No. Sorry, tier 2. I don't know. Like, I'm glad that Atlanta's committed to having like a large roster. This doesn't inherently give me worry with Sharp, but it is a little strange that we haven't seen him just yet. I think we're going to have to see him by next week if the meta kind of plays out like I think it will. Or Saucy comes in, and then I think it's just more pointed. Generally speaking, I think it's a good signing. I think, again, I'm a fan of bigger rosters. Hopefully, Sevi has a good idea of how to approach this. Seems like in the preseason he did. Saucy in general, I think is a fine hit scan. Again, when you come into the league, it's a little different than playing in contenders. You can have plenty of great performances in contenders, but when you get compared to people like Carpe and Happy and Eileen, granted, again, not a similar role, but you can see the kind of caliber players that I'm talking about. Does he stack up? I'm not so sure.
I mean, I think he's good talent, and it's also like, who else is out there still? That's my
No,
question.
for sure. It's slim pickings. It's not easy, especially for NA teams. 100%. It's not an easy question to answer.
Even Korean team is like not that easy. Like, okay, there's Pelican.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting
then-
thinner, but I think there's definitely more Korean talent that I think you could pick from.
I don't think any of them are either of age or as good as Saucy, but I could be wrong.
Possibly.
It feels like I've talked to people and those are the two names frequently mentioned that could be picked up for that specific role. And it's also like, it's of course very late into the season. I think it's 4 days out from roster lock. Will be interesting to see if even some teams still make moves. I don't know, actually. You kind of think you want to, considering everyone still has a chance with the playoff format. But you also kind of don't want to, because it's hard to get someone into the team in that time frame. Even bring them to the team house or whatnot. Most likely it will have to be something where, like, if you get someone from outside your respective region, we'll have to eat the ping difference. Like, it's hard. And then of course, like, economic realities of the situation. Of course, like, I don't know what the theory here is, but even just like a 2-week contract could be interesting. But keep in mind, if you sign someone on a 2-week and then you realize you kind of want this guy, then theoretically the window is over. And I don't know if there's extension clauses in these 2 weeks.
In
or
the 2
whatever,
weeks, yeah.
what that means. I don't think there are, but I don't know for sure. Or I wouldn't.
That's a good question.
I wouldn't think there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tough to say. But again, it's not. This is no slight to Atlanta. This is no slight towards Saucy's direction. I think he's a good player. I'm interested to see what happens with Atlanta when it comes to hit scan. Is Sharp still have a role within this roster? Will he be playing next week? Will Saucy be playing next week? If so, what does that look like? I'm interested to see how they stack up against some of the big names to get a better idea of how they play, because again, Contenders is a good showing. It's a good kind of litmus test to see if you have any kind of potential or have talent, which it seems like he does. Like, I've seen him play. Good player. How good? How far can he go? Interested to see.
And we definitely have seen both sides of that coin, right? Where you have a player who performs well in Contenders, gets into Overwatch League and totally bombs. And you're wondering, well, what the hell happened? And then on the flip side, you've seen people who maybe had okay to, just fine times in Contenders, at least based on kind of the regular community reaction, and they flourish in Overwatch League. So there's a lot. And then on top of that, you have to throw in everything you just said with the logistics of the signing, the time of the timing of it all. At least with Contenders, you don't have to worry about people being worried about only playing on LAN. They're ping ready. So, yeah. Other than that, I don't know. Interesting signing. Adds some depth. The Atlanta Reign aren't afraid to go and bring in just kind of smaller name talent or bigger name talent. Honestly, they kind of done both, and they've shown that they're perfectly happy to reach into their own org and bring people up. So consistently,
a team I think I wish we could have seen in the travel meta, if we're gonna call it that. They seem to have an interesting approach that I don't think a lot of teams were taking into consideration. I would have liked to see this team travel around, see how well or consistent they could be. Hopefully we can see that in the near future. Obviously COVID permitting, but we'll see. Saucy coming in. I like the depth. Good signing, generally.
Yep. All right. I mean, that's it for the news. Nothing else really happened this week. Or
The
over
only
the
thing
weekend?
I'd add is like minor kind of coaching changes with Chengdu. Dokebi getting, leaving, parting ways with Chengdu, and Chen coming in seems to have trialed really well, kind of position them strongly in Asia. But other than that, yeah, it's been quiet on the news.
All right. Yiska, you hanging in there?
Yeah.
I feel you, man. It was a weekend and a half, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really. Oh God. It's not going to get better anytime soon, is it? So gotta
No.
buckle up.
Buckle up. Strap in.
yourselves in, boys.
Z Sports. You love it or you
True.
don't. Just kidding. Just kidding. I don't believe that at all. Okay. Well, let's recap some of these Asia games here. So the Asia region. Look at us going after Asia first again this week. We're so nice. Some takeaways here, I would say. One of the big ones, Chengdu go 2-0, sweeping the Spark and beating Seoul on map 5. That puts them in a very interesting spot for the Countdown Cup brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Puts them second. I believe that as long as Shanghai wins, if I understand it correctly, as long as Shanghai wins, the Shanghai will take the first. But other than that, Chengdu, I believe, is locked for the second seed. So,
Yep.
Neat, I guess.
That's what happens when you get when you get a little infection, you get a little virus. NA had the Torb virus. I'm gonna call this the ball infection. This is the Chengdu's ball infection, and everybody's deciding that they're gonna play Wrecking Ball now, the same exact comp that Chengdu's playing, and they look considerably worse on said composition.
Do we not do phrasing anymore? Is that not what we do?
That was purposeful, and I hope you enjoy it.
The ball.
It's the ball.
See, my
infection.
mind went to the eyeball infection that I had. So
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I was more thinking of the other organ that I will dodge around and hopefully you pick up on.
you failed at that so miserably just now.
It happens.
The
It happens.
dodgeball.
Come on. The dodgeball infection. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
No, generally
The famous
speaking,
organ.
yeah. The Oregon dodgeball infection team, or the Oregon dodgeball team named infection.
Do you
There we
think
go. We got
they
there.
are actually the originator of all this?
I think so. I think looking at last week, they were I won't say the only ones, but they seemed the most comfortable.
Mhm.
And I think that started to catch on. And that's why you're seeing teams like Hangzhou look really kind of scatterbrained on trying to figure this out. I think one thing that was really interesting to me is the average fight duration with a Chengdu game, or with the Chengdu games, versus New York and Guangzhou specifically. I think New York and Guangzhou, again, probably have the best chances of quickly adapting to this, but I don't think this is going to last into next week or the removal of this hero pool. I think this probably gets kind of snuffed. But they seemed like the most well-equipped team to be able to kind of adapt to this, and even then they seemed a little slow, not as hyper tempo oriented, just running at them. I'd say not my favorite, but Rio surprised me on ball. I think NYXL had a very flow charty style to picking apart Guangzhou, which we'll get into, but it seems like, at least for me, Chengdu kind of set the tone for this particular hero pool and kind of gave them a Torb infection. Kind of gave them a Torb virus, this specific comp, and now everybody's trying to catch up in a weird way. Now Chengdu set the meta. I don't think this is going to continue, and I have a piece later this week that will kind of talk a little bit about that. But yeah, I think this is the ball infection.
So, what is your thoughts then on Chengdu? Because a few weeks ago, we had all but written off Chengdu, right? They weren't even getting those surprising wins or looking all that competitive in the way Chengdu does.
Yes.
And here they are now. Clearly got momentum, and on top of that, have found themselves as meta leaders. accidentally or not. I believe that there was a Reddit post with that kind of explained some things, and basically it was like it was a made up composition that they kind of like tried halfway through.
I think so.
And it worked out for them. So does that change where Chengdu is at all, or is this a combination of great meta and complete accident? And we're celebrating Chengdu when actuality it's we should maybe be doing the opposite.
You summarize my piece perfectly with that statement. That's what I'm calling perfect time. It is perfect right now. And you can talk about and celebrate Chengdu right now, but in every other piece of that pie, they should be criticized aptly so, right? They're perfect in this particular essence of time. They're leading the pack. They're setting the pace. They're leading the meta in Asia, causing everybody to catch up to them, which is kind of unheard of, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of praise them and be hype on them and exist in a state where you are just down on them and like, it's just 1 week. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I think both are very valid.
I made the point like today in a short piece where I basically say the Chengdu Hunters are a type of team where it isn't the absolute priority to get wins. For this team and what they bring to the league, it is equally important for them to regain their identity.
Chengdu-ness.
This league needs something like a Chengdu.
Mm-hmm.
It is patently obvious that is the case in terms of the enjoyment that their fans derive from it, in terms of what kind of values this transports. And it is namely, as I point out in the piece, the value of sometimes the rules are stacked against you. And then instead of losing against these rules again and again, you change the rules and succeed by your own measure.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, I see parallels to Chengdu and, for instance, a Daigo. Why? Because at some point, Daigo decided for himself that it wasn't any longer around only winning tournaments. And that's why I think people misunderstand this moment in time when I'm sure the viewers have also seen this on their timeline, that he's now once again winning tournaments. That's not what he's about anymore. He hasn't been for some time. He has written a book on the very fact that it's now about something different. Daigo will take the style of his opponent and try to beat the opponent at this style, even though he could mash him into the ground at whatever style he deems most appropriate. Now, that isn't a direct comparison to Chengdu Hunters, because that's obviously not within their skill range. What is comparable, however, is that there are values even in very cutthroat competition to succeed on your ways. And I think by not caring as much and by finding yourself, and possibly it's too late for this team, but this team wins on many levels. They might win more games by that, and I'm a strong believer that their season would look very differently if they had done this throughout the season. They might win more fans this way, and they might create more value for everyone watching them. Because like what we've seen this weekend, and of course it's hard to, it's very convenient to say, okay, this new guy came in and they changed, right? Whatever it is, keep doing that. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think even if the meta swings now after the pools are done, you don't change. You steer the course, you augment whatever you need to do, but like their compositions were basically as close to like comfort picks as everyone on that team was, right?
Yep.
Like
Late Young coming off the bench as a Zarya, basically a Zarya one trick. It feels kind of like not disingenuous, but disrespectful to kind of call somebody a one trick, but that is his like very obvious best hero. from watching Contenders and watching every instance of where this kid's played, Zarya is his best hero, period. Obviously, is in the meta. Wrecking Ball, Ame, Jinmu, Genji. Leave, again, having a better improved and better performance on Tracer, on Ashe, extending it to other hitscan heroes. Doesn't look like a terrible Genji. Ivaton Mercy. Bali kind of coming into his own, kind of showcasing what we saw in Contenders on the Zen. Everybody on this team is playing like nearly exactly what they want to. So it doesn't surprise me that Chengdu's doing well.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting because what Yiska is saying is that they might be coming back. They might be returning to that Chinese style. We'll see though. Again, 1 week. I'm not ready to buy back in, but this continues into Countdown Cup. Could have we could have our dark horse back.
Yeah. And it's like that's a very Eastern philosophy type of thinking, but there is a way where a competitor, the final stage of every competitor is to get on stage and play as if they were a musician, basically. To jam with the game and not really think about these games of one-upmanship. Oh, I gotta be better than this and this and this. And like, even I gotta be better than myself. No, just play for the sake of the game. Right? And I'm not saying that every team should be doing this. Of course not.
Oh, yeah.
That would make for, like, you gotta have these mystical creatures in your league that, like, these unicorns that are just riding by. Maybe in some folklore there are unicorn pandas, but like, I think especially like with how the season is now shaping up, I think that's also the best chance, honestly, to have any say in this. It's probably not the strategy that you would choose to reliably get the furthest, but is most definitely the most volatile that couldn't peak the highest out of any approach they could take. So try and entertain us while doing so, right? Like, I don't know. I didn't know I wanted this until I saw it, basically.
Yep. That's what I really appreciate with in esports in general, is the people who kind of not buck trends, but just look at things a little differently. Like, again, for any Valorant fans, I really enjoyed Party Parrots. They're not a team anymore, unfortunately. I enjoyed them specifically due to their buying strategy, at least early on in their life cycle. They were a little bit forced buy-y. They would take a look. They would buy their AKs. They'd run it up mid. They'd trade. They'd take duels. It was fun to watch. Yeah. It was different. It was like, oh, okay. Well, where could this go? What is this going to force this team to do? Are they going to adapt? It kind of excited you to watch the game.
Yeah.
And I guess in a bigger picture discussion with Overwatch, it's like, I think we would have had this and we didn't need it manufactured. And I think trying to manufacture it took us back. And people didn't know what to do, so they kind of just stuck in the little comfort zone of the meta and just really stuck to it. And I don't think we're seeing too much diversity outside of that once things get figured out. It's something that we talk about a lot. Not going to spend too much time banging on about it, but I really wonder if this format is going to stay. So,
yeah,
Chengdu on the up. We'll see what happens next week. Hopefully, they're back to their Chengdu-y ways.
I'm very much on team time on this one. It's just the timing.
Yep.
I think they aren't even playing next week, which gives me hope that they can further experiment and then into Countdown Cup. Just slam in with whatever shenanigans. Don't even scrim anyone that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, take a break. Go take a vacation. You've earned it. You got a week. Show up on the day, play whatever. Let's see what happens, you know?
Is this the first time where we are ultimately saying coaching and strategy is a detriment to an Overwatch League team?
What we're saying basically is,
as a joke,
probably
as a joke,
it would probably be better to take an ayahuasca retreat right now. And over practice like the next meta comps while you're off, basically.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. The best thing the Chengdu coaches have done is not coach, is what you're saying. Got it. Putting that one on. We're putting it in the title. And yes, everything.
Chengdu balls deep.
Take it out of context. Clip it.
Yeah. No regular season games. That's true. They have announced that they're finished with their regular season games, so they won't be any makeups. They won't play next week. They'll play in the Countdown Cup, obviously, but we will see. We will see.
Yeah. Yep. No, the best this team has done is took pandas that were forced to be horses and now let them be their bamboo eating self again. Basically.
They can be lazy. They can eat bamboo. Yeah. They don't adhere to your rules, man. Can't hold me down.
Just vibe with it.
I'm just vibing.
That's it.
That's the Chengdu vibes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about NYXL a little bit. NYXL turning it around this week with a 3-0 sweep over Gaungzhou. As if you already had no idea what was going on with New York already.
You know what really makes me mad at NYXL?
Besides their inconsistent results?
A number of things.
A lot of things.
We can list them. I don't know if we have enough time.
I don't think we have enough time.
NYXL might be the one team where every Reddit take on them is correct. Basically, like, why don't you play Libero? Libero plays, they instantly have like a spike. Why don't you play Bianca more? Bam. Like, they 3-0 smash stuff out. That's how is that possible? Like, it is like as a skeptical person, you'd go, I mean, these are good players, but I'm sure the coaches know what they're doing. And then they bring them in, and then it instantly looks better. And of course, there's still a double negative way where the coaches could be right, and this is the right timing. It's just very weird coincidence.
Yeah,
that this keeps happening. Like, it's pretty awful. Yeah.
I mean, I can look at it, as many side eye, skeptical hippo eyes as I want, but I have to agree. Like, this is just like, I have to give it to the coaches, right? Like, you have to know better than me. You work with the team, for God's sakes. Like, if you don't know, then who does, right? It is a little frustrating with this team in particular, because it's like, how many more excuses are we going to get to justify who are you getting in this god team, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't get it. You look so good with Nene Haksal. You've got a buffed Genji and legitimately the best Genji player in the world. Seems pretty simple. But again, I don't work with the team, so I don't know. Maybe who are you is performing better. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
They look so much better. Specifically, like, we can harp on, and I think a lot of people will harp on about like Haksal and like, why isn't he playing Genji? Like, where was he last week? I think the big thing is like, why isn't Nene consistently play? This kid brings so much firepower to this team. And if Asia is going to like lean into the Ashe and I have to see another Sabiobi game, God rest him. Like, I remember the Apex days. I remember them fondly. Please put this kid to rest.
Yeah.
Put him on a ship. Send him out to sea. Shoot the arrow. Let him die. It's okay. I want to remember him fondly.
Oh my God.
Downvote this video. Just downvote.
I said the same thing about Miro. I've been consistent. At least.
Just
no, he has killed 2 Overwatch League players, guys. Like,
just end it. End the show when it's good. End it on a high note. Don't let it drag out and be like a shell of your former self.
It's not good anymore. So now you need the redemption arc.
No,
because he would be going out on a low. Now that you've spoken it into being, he would be going out on a low.
Yes,
we would have to, as a community,
good this season,
be willing to negate the last season for him.
I think it would have been beautiful to see him like retire shortly after the whole flower incident, bringing him back in, maybe rotate into like a player coach role or like a managerial role to kind of like still have that presence within the team. That's fantastic. Just keep him on a starting roster. I think Nene is so strong for this team in this meta specifically. If I see him on McCree again, I'm going to remove the hair I have left. It's not a lot. NYXL, please.
Yeah.
I beg you.
Yeah. And here's the nuts thing. This team could absolutely go in a roll and be the second seed in Asia still.
Yes. They have that potential, but I don't know why they keep changing things.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that big brain, surgeon, like, I'm sandbagging. Like, we all know the NYXL sandbag. We're trying to integrate. Who are you guys? It's all the excuses all at once. Maybe they exist in perfect time.
But Joe, this is where it happens. This is where it all comes together.
Ah, yes.
All the throwing and like
the anime
interesting.
Finally, the
preparation. Now imagine if actually Who Are You was as good at Genji as he should be. Like, they kept this kid warm the entire season, and now he comes in, and they could have dominated. No, but that was the play. See how that all came together. Fate was there, and then you just like blunder. But there's more. Like now it's like the last couple of games of the season. They can still get second seed in Asia. Guangzhou is kind of also, by the way, definitely like as much as NYXL won that game, Charge also lost it. And then they can go past, peek into the playoffs, be one of the two Asian teams to go to the finals, and then baby, it's all on. Then it's everyone's game. And I truly believe that whoever almost in any performance, like for instance, at the moment, we would have to say Shock and Paris are going for NA, right? And then for Asia, we don't know the second slot. It could be NYXL.
Could be.
Or Chengdu. And Shanghai most definitely, right?
Yeah.
I think whoever you send there has a chance. A solid chance.
Yeah.
A chance that is probably for none of the teams lower than 10%.
I would agree. I wouldn't bet any lower than 20. I'd give them 20. I think everybody has at least 20% to win. 80-20 on any matchup. Like, what's the worst Asian team?
What I'm saying is to take it all. So you think like there's 4 teams. If everyone was good, equally good, they would have 25%. I think the worst team you could send there still has a 10% chance, which is like 2.5 times lower, but still kind of solid in order to get there. Meta plays a role, performance plays a role, the bracket will play a role, and
most definitely.
This is, dude. What if NYXL wins it all from here? How do you look on their season then?
I look at it very much the same way. I think as much as I hated the term then, I still hate the term now, but I feel it's apt. This feels like a patch team. If you win after having such a tumultuous season, maybe that can be hand waved away with hero pools and like how chaotic that was. And once you give them a meta to kind of refine, that's when they excel. I could see that. But in a way, they're a lot like London in season 1.
Give me a second. There's mad Philly fans in the chat, which I need to address.
Okay, Philly could make it too, guys. Come on.
Really thinking you are better than Paris right now?
Okay, I don't think
what are we huffing and puffing right now?
I don't think they think that Paris or like Philly's better than Paris, but I think they could make it much in the same way that Paris probably should, or maybe like the Charge probably could in Asia. They could make it, but right now, 3rd for sure.
You almost like, okay, there was a fight in Philly against Gladiators that deja vu'd themselves on defense and offense in front of the doors on Route 66 B, where there is actually 0% chance for Philly to come back in. And for some reason, we take the spaghetti full throttle to the wall, and they somehow lose that fight. There's no way for them to win. I think it's something like it's spawn advantage, and they're 3 people up at some point. It's over. They even have an ult advantage. And then on defense, like the point switch, fair enough. Funny Astra has a sick beat, but even there, they should have won that fight. And then Gladiators gets hold before second point. I'm like, did I jump in the VOD incorrectly, or are the colors off? Like, this match was totally blown open. They could have. You just almost lost to the Gladiators, my dudes.
Yep.
How are you arguing you're better than Paris? Please stop.
It's true. It is true, Paris. You know, if we're gonna, if I was to argue in a MMA math sense, if you're going to struggle against Glads, and we're arguing with Paris, who kind of swept Glads, I don't know. Seems pretty cut and dry to me.
I thought
Neither of those teams are in Asia, though.
yeah, they were talking about Asia. I'm like looking up teams and we go, what Philly team is in Asia?
Where is
how
is
we
Philadelphia
get,
and China? Like, what the?
Hello, help!
Well, they will eventually be there.
It's true.
Right?
Good save. Good save.
Just
Well
not
done.
Philly.
Hey,
where would Philly be right now in Asia if they were in the region?
Oh, they would be second, I think. I think
Yeah.
there's definitely currently we're in a stage of mega Papega squadronery. Like like I don't even understand what's going on anymore in this season.
Asia's just bizarre, man. I genuinely think, not only do I think that this is like the ball virus in Asia, I'll stop with the infection because I feel like I'm grossing people out with that. I get it. It's a little weird. Just a weird person, by the way. I think the mercy picks are like just this weird gentleman's agreement that they're just like, you want to play boosted Ashe and just kind of like poop damage back and forth? Sure, let's do it. Like, nobody's picking Sigma. Why? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. We're just happy with bubbling our Winston as he jumps in and dies. Like, nobody wants to try and like beat the comp. It's like, I feel like maybe get a Sigma, maybe get a Brig. Makes it very difficult for the ball to engage. The ball comps seem to fall apart when the ball doesn't get fat engages or just like exist in the back line and threaten through like attention trading. That doesn't happen. I guess that kind of falls apart, right? And then you can get off mercy. I don't know. Asia's weird, man. Asia's just bizarre. They're fun to watch, but they are very weird.
Well, let's take it one further then, and let's talk about this London Spitfire Shanghai match that goes to map 5. Shanghai still walks away, but you know,
watch me still derive something positive out of that result for Shanghai. Joe, you want to comment on this first?
No.
So, what do you know? The Spitfire kind of nice with it, dude. Like,
I mean,
I feel like I once again had take delay. You know, when you have a nice hot take
delay,
when you have like a nice read on the situation that's transpiring, and then the take becomes like a week late. You know, the charge will drop off because blah, and then you think, oh, London is kind of nice, and then like they just stagger it slowpoke style. That's basically what happened here. Now, watch me. The ability of the Shanghai Dragons to bring matches back from the absolute deadest of dead games is nuts.
It is impressive.
Dude, that is a quality of a team that, like, just imagine that stuff in the finals. And we saw that happen in the finals before.
Amen.
But imagine that happening in the grand finals. They are actually, like, until you capture the last objectives, you are fighting for your life against this team. It is ridiculous how often they have. I think it must be, like, how many reverse sweeps or, like, coming back from, like, there's definitely more than 6, I think, this season. So, like, I don't know. This unbreakable quality is a champion quality. That's the scary thing. Like, their mental is in a constant state of absolutely unboomable. And, like, yes, you shouldn't probably struggle against a team like the London Spitfire, even though I think in that meta they would have also beaten a lot of other of these Pepega squadrons. But like,
how does the Pepega squadron salute? Do they like do like the backwards like salute? Like
yeah. And then when it's time to eat, they just throw like zucchini in the rotor and just catch it. Yeah.
They cut their food inside of spinning blades. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was interesting.
You came back to that, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
No, I think this is more Shanghai having a weird read on the virus and sticking to their guns and kind of brute forcing that win and being that zombie team that just will not die until you just like really got to take them out, which we've seen them beaten. It's not like they're completely immortal, but I agree. They do have that kind of championship quality where like they bring it every single round of every single game. They don't seem to be able to be boomed. I think London was very well equipped to handle them. I like the fact that they were also playing Drake. And yeah, I think London, they're able to use some of their more specialized pieces here, and probably would have helped, or it probably would have helped many other teams if they had somebody like a Jihyun coming in, being able to pilot that ball to an extremely high level. I still kind of worry and wonder about the Bernard Diva instead of like Zarya, which seems to be like the go-to. I don't hate it. A little bit more interested to take the replay viewer and figure out exactly what his role was supposed to be. Kind of figure that out. But yeah, it seems like Shanghai just kind of stuck to their guns with what they wanted to do going into what Chengdu kind of was like showing everybody. That could have been a little too scrappy for him.
So what about Seoul? What's going on with the dynasty here? So this is a team that for the third season in a row, people have been pretty high on. Feels like they make a lot of good decisions. And now here we are in week 25, I think, and maybe 26. And we lose to Chengdu, get swept handily by Shanghai, where, you know, if you're a Seoul fan, you're kind of hoping they at least take a map, if not two.
True, but they also weren't that one-sided. I think Wolf is actually right in what he was saying. Like, yeah, the scoreline makes it like seem pretty one-sided, but I think they actually were in the match for a decent chunk of it.
To be fair, I think Charge was against NYXL as well. Like, I don't think the 3-0 score line would aptly describe what that game actually showed. I think Charge definitely put up a fight. It was a lot closer than a 3-0 might paint that.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, like it's like that's not the like if you plan this roster, the Seoul Dynasty, then that you cannot be satisfied with these results. Right? And second seed, of course, long gone. I'm not even sure. I think they have to kind of watch out that Chengdu doesn't catch him on the way up, especially with like bonus wins. Is that still possible? I need an Eric check on that one. But yeah, it's a rough one for. Let me see. Oh yeah, there you go. So where's the Hunters? 7-14, and then yeah, no, they can. They definitely can. I mean, they have 6 remaining games, but everything is possible if you believe enough.
You believe hard enough.
Seoul
has a bunch of makeup games to play. I don't know that they.
Yeah, probably not possible. But then again, like the teams they have to play are either kind of good or on the upswing. Even though I think they will have one more.
I think it all depends.
Wait, is the Spark also done with this season?
That I'm not sure. I'm
no, 2 more remaining games. My bad. I cannot read. Yeah, okay. So like then Dynasty is pretty much locked in the mid tier, and that also gets very scary for them based on their recent performances. If we assume some meta proximity, like to
do we have
persist
any
throughout.
knowledge on if the makeup games will have hero pools?
I'm pretty sure they don't. I think we're done. Right?
Eric says
the
yes, they
makeup
will.
games.
Sorry.
Yeah, the makeup
The
games.
makeup games,
Playoffs.
yes.
Yeah, the makeup games
okay,
will.
sorry. Yeah,
I think again, like that's where I start to question Seoul. I don't know. Like, give me a meta where they can win every game, like the ideal meta, like the Chengdu perfect time Seoul Dynasty meta. What does that look like? I couldn't tell you. Every time I feel like I have a read on exactly what they're good at, I find poop in the bed.
Okay.
It's a nicer way to put it.
All right.
Like what? Like where did they succeed? Gesture seemingly, and again, I don't really care for the take of like, I don't know, guys, like people haven't played Dive in a long time, so maybe they forgot. Hearing that in my brain, I'm like, come on, like you can't be serious. Like that, there's no way that the former best Winston, or arguably best Winston in the world, forgot how to play his hero. Or the team that should be good and has the duo that should be good at diving together just forgot how to be good together. I don't know. I'm coming around to that idea. I'm not gonna lie to you. The performance that Gesture showed these last weeks, dreadful. Inting. First deaths every fight, it feels like. And you can't do much when your tank just runs. Or is dead. It's Prophet's trying his dangdest. I see and I sympathize with a lot of people frustrated with the coaching staff. I don't know. This roster seems very strange. Seems like a lot's going on. You've got flex tank problems, who coming in, coming out. Where's Michelle? I don't know. Is it Sigma? Is it not Sigma? Seems like Marvel just kind of gelled with the team. I think it's a lot more. There's a lot more to it than just like put in all the good people forehead. I think we need to cut them a little slack. But I agree for the most part that it is a little frustrating to see this team just. What do we do? Where's the consistent thread? There is no composition that I can see. Me personally. That I would put them on for the makeup games that they would consistently not beat, but perform very well. I can't name you one. Maybe they find one. Maybe they find one in the makeup games and maybe they can lead them into some success in playoffs. But with the power of this roster, it has been rough. It has been dire.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's go on to NA a little bit. Let's take a look, and we have to discuss one thing first, and that is Super Genji did make a return.
Yeah, sure did.
It's
sure
back.
did. Against Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm over
Sweet.
it. I think I also kind of probably have to discharge. Like my feelings have changed a little bit. Because I think ultimately it doesn't matter, and there might actually be some utility in it if they do it there.
Really?
Utility as in like we don't know what the players' mentals are like, right?
Sure, exactly. Yeah,
like players want to be useful. I will say fundamentally, it once again is proven that the Shock are a team that pilot Genji well, right? Like. To bring someone in, first week, he instantly claps like that, where people call him the MVP of the match and whatnot. Yes, that is on the individual performance, but you also got to give them you got to understand the pacing and the openings of this comp in order to
I agree.
achieve that.
They understand it. I wouldn't say they pilot it well. They get it. I think they can. They also. the shot coaching staff also help the players understand their role as Genji. To at least they get the fundamentals of what they should be doing in this comp.
Yeah.
They get it and they can pilot that. They don't have to go off and make plays, which I think is going to be necessary. Come Countdown Cup, which if Shock don't kind of get their bearings about, I think is going to lack a little bit of a weapon. Come Countdown Cup, which I could bite them. We'll have to see. Maybe Striker and Co can make up for it, but I think a lot of criticism was pointed towards Taio's way. Again, I think you have to see him a lot more to get a better picture. I think, again, very much in the same way, just kind of not a passive Genji. I think that's just a bad way to phrase it. Just he knew what he was supposed to do, did it, didn't have to be flashy, didn't have to get like 5k blades, didn't have to be Jinmu, just did his job. They easily win. Similar with Super. I agree. There's a lot more to all these Super Genji moves. The crowd loves it. I wouldn't say that he's anywhere near MVP of the match. I think that's complete, no pun intended, shock value, where it's just like, oh, crazy, Super Genji, like we gotta give him. Boo, yes, I agree. It's bad. It just gets the point across and it just happens to be the team, right? It's just this shock jock kind of, wow, he's here, he's a main tank, give him MVP. No, Striker's absolutely pounding. Smurf playing so well. Twilight's playing so well. Violet's cracked. And we're going to give it to Super MVP. Come on. Like,
I will say Twilight was a little shaky against Florida, but like,
that's fair.
The thing is, like, Chalk, can you learn from Usain Bolt, guys? And here's the Usain Bolt pacing of world records.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it at some World Cup race somewhere in Biloxi. You do it at the Olympics. Then it's the most impressive. To be fair, it is pretty gangster to clap a team 3 minutes under what everyone else achieved in terms of like the fastest.
It was so, yeah.
Like, and then do it also with Super in. And I also think the underlying, like the Titans have some, like there's some cushion for them. They actually look quite good for a while. Like they didn't they go into Summer Showdown as a top seed even?
Yeah, I think they were like 4th based on some.
Yeah, I mean, memes. But you got to win those as well as a team.
That's
like
true.
This, right?
They did. You have to give them that.
Yeah. So they weren't like beaten for weeks, and then Shock comes around and just like makes it a point to bulldoze them over. No, this is the Shock that just wants to crush everyone indiscriminately. And now I get it. That's just what the mode they're getting in. This is the ritual that we've seen before. Like before the last year's final. They are not going to take prisoners on their way to this grand final. That's just how they operate. And I think as such, that's completely fine to do. Like,
it's a little fan service. It's a little rest. It's a very nuanced conversation that isn't just like, oh my God, they're styling like BM. I think it could be painted that way.
Yeah.
But it's very obvious that they are the villain of the arc that's playing with a hand behind their back for probably a good reason. Recharging their super special power that they gotta save for the ultimate final showdown, right? Come on, guys, I gotta save for Shanghai. That's the narrative I'm painting. That's what I see in the tea leaves.
Yeah, no, like, but Shock hasn't been historically like the team that loads the what's it called, Genki Dama, for like 6 episodes.
What are you talking about? I need a little bit more
Dragon Ball
context.
Dragon Ball. When he
the spirit bomb.
Yeah, the spirit bomb.
Oh
yeah. I think we didn't have. What was it?
I was more going Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho, where he does like the arm thing, and then he loses his arm. That's where I was at.
Worlds, creatures of the universe, give me your power for 7 episodes in a row. Like,
yeah, he did. That is like a whole thing, and then Frieza's like, no, and then he just gets up. You're just like, oh,
yeah. So
sorry, chat and
Moral of the
listeners.
story.
Sorry you had to listen to that.
yeah, this is a boomer reference. That's probably.
Oh, come on.
Come on,
I'll get to My Hero Academia. I'll get you Zoomers. Don't worry. I'm getting there. Don't worry.
There we go. There we go.
We'll get there.
It's like Solar Beam basically in Pokemon.
Good reference.
There you go.
Yeah. Nice.
So which game are we talking about again?
We were
Overwatch.
just talking about Overwatch. we're in NA now as well, so you got the right
NA.
region. Talking
Yeah.
about
We can talk
San
about
Francisco
Philadelphia.
Shock and Super. I feel like is there much more to add there? Any thoughts on Vancouver that you want to bring out, or do we just kind of have a
Don't
moment
get
of silence
beaten
for
up
them?
by that result. Just like don't even register that. That's shock.
It's a shock.
Does shock things.
Yeah. You can't.
you
can't be upset about that.
those, dude. Like you gotta.
As
You're
much
Chelsea
as
in this.
everybody. Okay, let's not go that far. Let's not go that far. I will say that, like, as much as and I appreciate coaches to the death because of this, because every coach wants to be like, yeah, in any given day, like we could win, like the shot could throw. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Like, it's the Shock. Like, are we really that mad? No, come on. Like, you have to be able to keep them bought in enough to like believe, but like also kind of give yourself the cushion that this is the best team in the world. Like, they are the defending champions. There's no discredit, no dishonor, no shade thrown your way if you just lose. It's a tough team to beat. You're thrown in here. I think they've done a bang up job. I think who was it? Flubby, the head coach, the coaching staff for Vancouver that came over from Second Wind. I think Vancouver will have a good, as long as they're given the chance to. Knock on wood. We know Vancouver. If they're given a chance to succeed, I think they will actually genuinely be like a decent team next season. But right now, you're floating on. You're getting, you're gelling. You're figuring things out. It's the Overwatch League. It's tough. Hero pools are a hell of a drug. I think they're doing well enough. It's Shock. What do you do?
Fair enough. Let's go on and talk about Gladiators Fusion a little bit. LA Gladiators take Fusion to a map 5.
Oh, this was frustrating.
That was fun, huh?
I mean, good for the Gladiators, but like,
it was a better performance, I will say. Like, I'm not ready to just like wipe the slate clean just yet. I am seeing better performing Gladiators, which is a good sign. I can't move them up just yet. I think I've come around to the comp gripe that everybody has with Philly and the BAP. I tend to agree that Boombox had a hard time finding value out of Immortality Field that I feel like not a Genji, but a Zenyatta just gives you inherently by threatening people with the Discord, by giving yourself a great answer to Dragon Blades. It felt like Kevster just got to run wild every time he pulled a blade, and it really kind of drove home that fact where it's like, there's just something missing. I don't think that's specifically it. It's a lot more to what Zen can bring you pick potential, can give you, again, a great answer to that Dragon Blade. It's hard to find Immortality Field use. They've got it to work with some, mid-match adaptation with the Sombra. Okay, great. Love that. Generally speaking, I think I'm coming around to the Zen era or the Zen school of thought in NA. I think it is a little bit better. I think it does give you more value just on its face. But it's not just the ult. I think just painting it as like, oh, they don't have Transcendence, therefore lose. Not the whole truth. It's almost like a quarter truth. I think BAP was... or Zen was sorely missed in a lot of these early games. You saw Shaz getting a lot of early picks, which broke open those fights. Tough to kind of play the game, in much in the same way Ons kind of pounded Dallas. Shaz had a good game. Shaz got a lot of first picks, a lot of openers. Made it tough for Philly to approach. It made it tough for them to have and warrant a good fight, and you saw them kind of invest some ults to kind of make up for it sometimes. Not my favorite. So hopefully... I mean, granted, again, I think the meta will change, but I think this was probably the thing to change in this match that probably would have given them a lot more positive result.
So let's talk about, I think, the last match that I saw that to really highlight, and that was Houston Outlaws and Washington Justice. And
Man.
this was something, eh?
Something indeed.
Justice, by the way, defeated the Outlaws 3-1. I think on the heels of, it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we were kind of talking about how Houston seemed to stabilize a little bit, seemed to be trending up, and then this week happened.
I'm not ready to give that up. I do think Houston still has potential. I think they've had potential all season. They're just not translating it. I think their control compared to everything else was so drastically different for me. It felt like they were very, 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 very prepared for control. They had like the cool tech with the ball rolling around on the top of Busan, threatening the slam on point. So you have to go around the flanks and then hydration's there. Great. I think in a perfect world, you probably do have to sub in Muba. I don't know why that is. Maybe his wrist is acting up. Not here to speculate on that. That's kind of being sorely missed because I don't think it's a mechanical question. I just think that would add to or give them an extra weapon to say, hey, we have this mechanically overly proficient Winston that can find us picks, that can kind of mechanic us some fights, where hydration doesn't have that comfort that Muma does. I think specifically on Gibraltar, I wasn't a fan of their positioning. I think Link's last fight got picked out. Wasn't like, it felt like he wasn't near the bat to get protected from the dive. So I don't know if that was just a last fight kind of blitz, bad positioning, but not the tightest game from Houston. Not the tightest game. Again, still a meta that should not favor the Washington Justice, but if we're going to say that, you know, having an aggressive Tuba Genji comp gives them a way to win a game, I think this was it. I'll be interested to see what Justice look like in the Countdown Cup, because I don't think that'll be as similar. In that same vein, though, I wonder what Houston looks like, because as much as I'm not ready to let go of their potential, they're probably going to have to change things up again and figure that out. I would have liked to see more ball. I think more ball out of Houston in particular. I think the maps didn't necessarily allow for it. I wonder if Gibraltar's that bad for it. I'd imagine so. Hanamura seems rough. Busan, good one. I don't know. Houston's a tough one.
Tell me again, by the way, how there's not take lag once again. Do you remember how I told you that like Justice might still be as good as Toronto?
That was last week? Yeah.
And then they also and now see, it's take lag. I have 1 week take lag, guys.
Fuck off. Is this the Minesweeper? Oh no, I was just a week behind. Like, no, I was right, but it was just, you know, I got the dates mixed up.
Look, if you want to stay in 3 dimensions, well predicted, and not take the time dimension,
he's an underwater basket weaver.
Then
he's going 5D chess.
Like, okay, so here's my question, my serious question. We know that we can draw parallels between the Florida Mayhem and the Washington Justice. Florida Mayhem from last year to the situation now in Washington Justice, a team that rebuilt with a full Korean roster and is looking to make vast improvements based on that. Now, the pattern that Florida Mayhem showed in the end of season 2 was that there was an uptick in performance. Is this the type of performance that gives you belief in the core of this roster, or just in a couple of those players that you can start building with them next season?
I want to say yes, but there are so many glaring like arguments against me want like the feeling or the hip like firing to say yes. I think you do have some potential here to grow with. This could just be perfect time. This could just be good meta for you. not too similar to the last meta where you like overperformed, but similar enough. Maybe you got some confidence. Maybe you're still, once we see you off the Genji again, do we just go back to the same old Justice? I think there are pieces to this roster that could be decent. I think there's just a lot of question marks around any kind of consistency unless you're just like really confident and really consistent. Unless you're like Shock, Shanghai, Paris for the most part, Philly to a degree. Like you have to like be overly consistent to be like, okay, like I get you're a good team. Sweet. Everybody else though, it's like, I don't know, do you keep this roster? Maybe. I think you could argue it. You could argue it against. Right? It's this weird like Schrodinger's cat scenario where I think both arguments are fine. I don't particularly care for either of them though. It's tough. I think if we continue to see them perform, specifically outside of a Genji meta, and start beating teams or at least taking them close, I'd be much more willing to come around to the idea that, okay, you have a good core. I think you could swap out some pieces and have a great team by next season, or a good team rather. But I think it might still be too early. I'm not completely sold on some of these players just yet, and the consistency that they're going to keep it together all season.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think it doesn't help that this seems to be like a meta that suits them well. But then again, like I think it's not you cannot interpret this to be a negative thing, right? Like it gives some foundational. Of course, like the worst case scenario is like, okay, here are the worst two scenarios for an org like this. Mm-hmm. There's the scenario like Florida had, where you go, oh, we had a pretty good finish to stage 4. Let's build on that. And then there's the experience that Dallas Fuel had at the end season 1 and went like, we finally figured out Overwatch out. Give those boys 2-year contracts, and we got that stuff figured out. We give them 1 or 2 more boys, and we're going to start dominating Overwatch again. Like that's the trap. You don't want to be in that trap. And I think the fact that these results aren't as like amazing kind of helps make sound decisions there. I think there's a good chunk of players that probably will be dropped from that roster. And I think there are a couple of players that you could definitely use to build upon. Now, and I think it's also the obvious ones, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Like, good for.
Is it obvious though? I don't know if it is obvious. I think people are really coming around to the whole tube idea, and I'm not buying.
Why not?
I think you could make positions to improve, if that makes sense. Not positions in terms of like roles within Overwatch, but positions to other teams, to contenders teams, to bring somebody in that's a little bit more flexible. This kid is a Pharah, now a Genji specialist. Can't do much else too terribly well. I don't think that's going to be valuable in the long run. He has been fantastic for you this season, much more so than I think anybody gave him credit for. Great. I do not see a long future for him on this team. Maybe you keep him on the bench. Maybe. I think you could improve that bench with other players. Just my opinion.
Christopher does bring up, says, we had to play Paris 3 times and Shock twice in regular season. They play each other once.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's the Valiant story as well. I think they have a similar ridiculous schedule. Yeah, I mean, that's a rough one, most definitely. Yeah. And I mean, we would have to, like, there's still a possibility that the rest of the aggregate favors the other teams massively, but it's unlikely. That's also an Eric question. But like,
again, I still think they're a consistent team. Like, I think a lot of people like raise an eyebrow at that. But again, look at the season as a whole. Don't look at just like the recency bias of looking at the Glads game and being like, oh, well, I don't know, they almost lost to Glads.
No, that's not the point. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about who were the best teams in Season 3 regular season, then it's most definitely Philly being one of them, right?
Yeah.
If we're judging where is this ride going towards Countdown Cup and towards
some shaky footing.
I have my skeptical goggles on based on that performance. Then again, you got to win it somehow. That's also quality. If I say to Shanghai, that's impressive, then I got to say to Philly as well. And I also think Glad's actually looked vastly improved in comparison. But yeah, it's like,
it's tough for them. I'm not sure exactly where we're headed, but if we can kind of briefly talk about Glads for a second, it's tough for me to kind of give them credit just within 1 week, just like how it's tough for me to give anybody credit within 1 week for these teams. Is this just an overperformance? You look good against Shock. Paris just takes you over and kicks you in the well, right? Like it's back and forth. Yeah. Maybe you fall somewhere in the middle, and that's maybe improvement. But I need to see more games to figure that out for myself, at least. Because again, against Shock, looked better. Didn't win, but looked better. Paris, not close. What happens in Countdown Cup? What happens when you get paired up against the Justice again? What happens if you get paired up against Houston? Those are games you should be winning. Let's see you win them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's definitely also the story of the next couple of games for Glads. Yep. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I also think if they win that series, then that series against Paris probably also looks different.
Sure.
Because like from an energy point of view, it's probably massively deflating.
Talk about confidence, yeah. You upset the Shock, and then you go into Paris, you feel like you could do anything. So it's things could be looking up with Glads. Hopefully it is. Again, I'm happy to be proven wrong that they're not just like on a downward spiral. Hopefully they can bring it back. We'll have to see.
We will have to see. Lots of fun games going into week 3 of Countdown Cup coming up next week. So make sure to join us on Wednesday at noon, twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. And we're going to preview those games. But while we don't, let's go ahead and get out of here. New patrons, Joe, we got any?
New patrons. We have the OPG is now a new producer. Welcome to the producer club and as a new patron. Thank you so much for your patronage and everybody's continued support. Whether you donate, whether you do the 5-star iTunes reviews, whether you sub to the channel, we love you equally.
And Yiska, new subs?
New subs. The Salt Bucket. Thank you for the sub. Wellard Overwatch. Thank you for the sub. Chopped Cheese. Thank you. Yiska out. Thank you for the sub. And Generic Joe, thanks for the sub.
Hey, thanks so much. And Chonk Boy, thank you for the 100 bits. Just donated now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chonk.
Big thank you to our patron producers. Battlecrab Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Porkchop, Sammy, Conscious67, Coochie Kopi, Sharp Picasso, Nathan, Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Refine Bean, Rex Zane, Roger B, Fabled Steven, Owen, Chris R34444, Yiska's holding me hostage. Please send help. I'm under Yiska's desk. Please send help. Yiska says Fisher, and the OPG. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you like the show and want to support, patreon.com/tacticalcrouch is a great way to do that, or subbing right here at twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. Thank you so much for tuning in. We were well over the 75 concurrents that we need to, stay above the threshold for Twitch partners. So hopefully that goes well. And hopefully we see you on Wednesday. But let's do some shout outs for the week and where people can find you. Yiska, let's have you go first this time.
So I had a double whammy today. I wrote the Chengdu thing, and then I also wrote a review that just went out a couple of minutes ago, where I basically talk about the takeaways from this week. And I usually do, like, in the preview piece, I post some questions or whatever, and then in the post piece, I like talk about them in detail. So this time around, like, I stay pretty much on the narrative trail, trying to find like these little pathways that teams could be taken. And the Chengdu piece I talked about before. We'll probably have some Valorant stuff also this week, but definitely also we'll continue doing Overwatch pieces, maybe also little shorter ones. It's like some interesting thoughts. We'll see how it goes.
Cool. Joe, what about you?
Hey, you can find me everywhere on the socials at Volamel. That's Volamel. After this show, I'm going to take a fat nap. And then I'm going to wake up and write some Valorant review of the PAX Invitational this last weekend. Shout out to your boy Sinatra and for the old OGs, Psalms, doing the dang thing, getting it done. Very impressive. Changing my opinions as we go. It's, early days, Valorant esports. Shout out to the Spike Drop folks who are watching me backpedal live. And then the rest of this week, like I said, I'm going to be kind of defining perfect time and showing some examples and why I think the league did a really good job at allowing everybody into the bracket because of it, unintentionally or not. And then breaking out the old anime textbooks, and we're going to give you something for the One Piece fans out there. We're won't spoil it just yet, still in the works, but we'll have something for you hopefully.
Well, real quick, Joe, break this down for me.
Okay.
You just woke up for the show.
Yeah.
You're going to bed directly after the show.
Well, it's subjective term.
Oh mein Gott.
Subjective term.
Da muss man kurz ins Deutsche switchen für die. Jesus Christ.
I agree. I don't know what you just said.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. That is unreal. Frau Holle.
It's not going to get done if I don't sleep.
I don't understand you guys.
No, yeah, that's not how it works. I think it's exactly the other way around how it works.
Yeah. Don't sleep, right? That's what you're telling me.
No,
that's what my brain's.
That's
that my brain hears. Don't sleep. I like it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us before this gets out of control. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Hope you had a ton of fun. We'll see you Wednesday for episode 122. Can you believe it? We're already a fifth of the way through the 100s. Thanks a ton, everybody. Hope you had fun. We'll see you soon. Bye.